Endocrine glands are ductless, so they're not like salivary or sweat glands, and they're usually located like right near capillaries or other blood vessels, and that facilitates secreting their product directly into the bloodstream. Endocrine glands are organs whose sole function is the production of a hormone. These glands include the pituitary, the thyroid. We'll talk about things called the parathyroids, the adrenals, the pineal gland, the thymus. But there are other organs, such as gonads, the heart, small intestine, and kidneys, and they secrete hormones as well. But they're major components of other systems of the body. So we refer to them as secondary organs of the endocrine system. Hormone release can be triggered in three ways: neural, humoral, or hormonal. Yes, I actually did just say three different words there. Neural, meaning containing the nervous system, humoral, which means fluids, or hormonal, which we're talking about chemicals sent in the blood. Let's start with a neural trigger, which is right here. A neural trigger involves sending action potentials to make an organ release its hormone. So during times of stress, the adrenal medulla here will receive action potentials from your hypothalamus, really. And when it receives those action potentials, it then releases its hormone epinephrine and a little bit of norepinephrine. The second type of trigger is a humoral trigger, and the parathyroid glands do this. These four little dots here are parathyroid glands, and what they're doing is they're monitoring the amount of calcium that's in this blood vessel right here. And if the calcium goes low, then these parathyroid glands will release their hormone, which is called parathyroid hormone, right? No no awards for naming that one. The last type of trigger is the one that becomes so difficult and so confusing, and is usually the one you start to read about and then you need to put the book down and go away. It's called a humoral trigger, and this occurs when one hormone triggers the release of another hormone. So I have a picture here of the anterior pituitary gland, which I'm going to highlight in green here. And the anterior pituitary gland is secreting a whole bunch of different hormones. And then these hormones are going to an organ and just making that organ release its own hormones. And this is what is called a tropic cascade. And this is when we use hormones to trigger the release of other hormones. In a previous class, we discussed how the nervous system propagates action potentials down an axon to cause a neurotransmitter to be released. What we're talking about here with the endocrine system is not all that different. The neurotransmitter that's released into a synapse, it then causes a response, usually depolarization, from its connection with the neurotransmitter. So, for instance, if you think about wiggling your big toe, you can do so almost instantaneously because the action potential and neurotransmitter effect are so incredibly fast. If the nervous system is like email, then the endocrine system is like the USPS post office, which does not live up to their name in rain or snow because there have been times when they don't deliver our mail because of the snow. Anyway, endocrine cells, what they do is they secrete hormones into blood circulation. So, not into a synapse, but into blood circulation, like this picture over here on the left. I'm sorry, on the right. And these hormones are meant for target cells that are located far away. So, a hormone, it's just a chemical signal, it's just a product secreted by an endocrine gland. And it's defined as a chemical substance released into the extracellular fluid that can affect a target cell at a distant location. So there are things that are called hormones that are called prostaglandins. And they actually just affect very nearby cells. So, yes, they are secreted into the interstitial fluids. But most hormones that we're going to be talking about are secreted into the bloodstream. So, like this picture over here on the right, they're secreted into the interstitial fluids, but then they're taken up by the bloodstream and they're carried through the body, through the circular system, and exposed to target cells located in a distant place. So once at the target cell, the hormone, it can connect to a receptor on the outside of the cell, triggering a response, or the hormone can connect to a receptor inside of the cell, triggering a response, right? As the hormone, as it flows through the body, cells that are not target cells, cells that don't have the receptor, they pretty much ignore the hormone. Hormones are highly specific to their target cells. Target cells are the specific cells in your body that respond to a particular hormone. So, all hormones, they're just messengers. That's all they are. They travel through the blood and they deliver instructions, but they can only deliver those instructions to certain target cells. So, it's like they have a key and they have to find the proper lock to it. If a hormone finds a receptor that it fits to, it can bind to the target cell and cause a specific action. It can also prevent actions. It doesn't have to cause things. But anyway, a cell can only respond to a hormone if it has the right receptor. So, for example, epinephrine being released from this adrenal gland here, being taken up into the blood. It's going to circulate and it's only going to work on cells that have the appropriate adrenaline receptor. The kidney can respond to epinephrine, the pancreas cannot. Well, in this picture at least. Without target cells, hormones would have no way to actually, like, you know, have somebody carry out the instructions, right? Remember, they're just messengers. So if a hormone's released and there's no target cells, it's kind of like mailing a letter without the address. It just like floats around without a destination. And then it spends time in the post office that's like right down the street from you. And then they deliver it one day, like 6 months later, and it looks like it's been on the floor and stepped on. And they deliver it to you in a bag because it's in pieces. True story. Equilibrium for hormones in the blood, it means a balance between how much hormone is being made or secreted and how much is being broken down or used, right? So not just broken down, not just like cleared out, but also just tied up with receptors. So think of it like a bathtub with the faucet on and the drain open, right? If water flows into the tub at the same rate it's draining out, then the water level stays steady, right? The most hormones have set points that need to stay steady like that. There are some hormones, though, that fluctuate during the day, and they're supposed to do that. So, similarly to the faucet analogy, when your body maintains equilibrium for hormones, the hormone levels usually stay stable by matching the secretion and the use and clearing. So, saturation happens when all the receptors for hormones, when they're all full. Hormones usually bind to a specific protein or receptor, like keys fitting into the locks. But if there are more hormone keys than locks, the system's saturated. Imagine a parking lot, right? It's got a limited number of spaces, and once all the spaces are full, no more hormones can park. So adding more won't increase the effect of the hormone until new spaces open up or until new spaces are made. Clearance refers to how the body removes the hormone from the blood. So the liver and the kidney they're the big cleanup crews, and they break down or filter hormones to keep their levels in check or in equilibrium. So think of clearance like emptying the trash bins, or think of it like that open drain. The faster and more efficient the crew can work, the quicker the blood can be cleared of the hormones. If clearance slows down, hormones build up. right? And that can cause problems, as any hormone in excess or in deficiency can cause issues.